Hey guys, as the title of the video says, are video games losing the replay value? I asked this question because when I presented that top 10 RPGs with best replay value, I began stating that I would explain why I consider those games as good examples, and the video was successful for the size of this channel, so I wanted to throw a second part. But let me ask you something. What do you think a game should have in order to say that it's worth playing several times? Now, this can be answered in many ways. For example, the number of endings a game has, the number of playable characters, having well implemented roguelike mechanics, perhaps glitchy or breakable enough to explore the world in countless or different ways. Okay, under those ideas we could say that there are plenty of games that fit the bill, right? Unfortunately, it is not that easy, once I place it into different perspectives, because while we could argue peculiar executions and how extraordinary some games are, the fact is that it's been a while since I don't replay video games, even those that I place stupidly high with over 9. Now, to be fair, it is worth throwing a Greek entity here, Chronos. If there is something well understood, is that time doesn't care about anyone, not even deities. Perhaps Gaspar is the only one that can say otherwise. Maybe we can throw Iron here, but a certain someone had a bit too much water while comparing ages, so meh. Dumb jokes and symbolism aside, we human beings enjoy things for different reasons, and as usual I can only talk about my experience. So when young me had no money to get video games, I used to replay them in multiple ways, like defeating bosses in random order, finishing the game with every single character, using but the specific weapons, gathering every single star in peculiar order, without case upgrades, and so on. The list would be quite big. However, even when I had a bit more of money to get games, I got a bit stuck in some journeys, perhaps a bit too much. So for me, those are the games that I could say, damn, they have a good replay value. But let's face it, time changes everything, and you cannot escape it. So multiple Doritos into the future, the industry has evolved in different ways, and this is one of the many reasons most of us don't replay video games as often. And let's face it, it is tempting to get different video games on sales, looking at those 50, 70, 90% reductions of the original price. Yeah, it is fair, not everyone has a computer, but other companies do the same, so you can get cheap games, and considering that most of them get nice reductions, we might get a bit overboard. Now, don't tell me this doesn't happen to you, because most people who watch this channel, according to statistics, are hopefully making enough money to pay for more things than those under 30 years old. So that is one of the reasons. But it is also rather easy to buccaneer some games, game passes, and so on. But guess what? You don't have the same time and patience to play video games. So either you tend to begin multiple of them and forget about them quite fast, or it takes you ages to finish a game that actually takes like 10-20 hours to complete. Now, I will say that time and responsibilities take a heavy role in this department, and of course that backlog that we are fighting quite constantly. But does that mean video games lost their replay value? It just means our priorities changed. I mean, unfortunately sometimes age plays tricks on us after a sip of water and a not so engaging story. So, I mean, sometimes we debuff ourselves. Now in my case, it is not that I don't want to replay some of my video games, but there are of course different things into play, like the backlog, this channel where I want to bring new and fresh content, reasons why I don't really like to talk about or review some games until I finish them, work, family, and other things. But if I have the time, for sure, there are games that I will replay once again. Definitely taking better choices, building some characters in better ways, or simply enjoying the journey once again. Aside from that, for me a sweet spot for a game with replay value comes with some of the previous points I mentioned, like a number of playable characters, different mechanics where you can dive and enjoy the journey in a different way, a story somewhere around 30 hours preferably, because sometimes going over 100 hours is quite heavy. Of course, if I can enjoy the journey with friends, it works quite well, reason why I return many times to some unending entries. I know for some this may be disheartening, and sometimes nostalgia plays tricks on us, but let's check at the bright side. Every video game is a new journey to enjoy, or simply another step to appreciate a new future entry. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.